Well, hello, everybody. Rich Linton from the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences here with the Associate Dean of Extension, Dr. Rich Bonanno, and welcome to Farm City Week. We're very, very happy to be able to provide a joint presentation today relative to an update for the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. And I guess, as we go through all of the challenges associated with COVID-19, it reminds us about how important and how committed we are to the land-grant mission of research, teaching, extension and outreach and engagement, and even international programs. And this commitment to the land-grant mission has never been more important. And while things are changing and the way in which we're doing things is different for our students and different from a research perspective and different from an extension standpoint, we're doing everything we can to be committed to the importance of the land-grant mission and meeting the needs of our stakeholders in North Carolina, nationally and globally. And we're committed to going after those grand global challenges, the grand global challenges that will make a difference in the world, but will also make a difference for our stakeholders and our communities that we serve in North Carolina. And during COVID-19 and at all other times, we're also very committed to protecting the pack, whether it's online instruction to protect our students, or whether it's all the interventions that we're doing for both the basic and applied research on campus and utilization of masks and social distancing, as well as all the programs that we do off campus with our research stations and with Cooperative Extension. We're doing everything we can to be able to deliver what we need to deliver, and at the same time, protecting our most important asset, which is our people. And even though we've got COVID-19, there's all sorts of incredible things going on in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. If you look at this slide in the bottom right, you'll see that our college last year received almost $100 million in competitive research dollars. Our goal is to get to 100 million, but just to give you a perspective, when we started 7 or 8 years ago, our college was just at 50 million. So we've doubled in the last 7 years. From an enrollment standpoint, we're now one of the top universities in the country when it comes to both undergraduate and graduate students. We have a total of almost 2,700 undergraduate students. About 2,400 of those are in the traditional 4-year program, and another 300 in our very popular 2-year Ag Institute program. And from a graduate student perspective, we're just at about 1,000 students, which places us as one of the very top in the country. We're very happy to also say that we've gotten a tremendous amount of support from our external stakeholders and friends, with over $50 million in donor support to be able to support all of our people, our programs, and our facilities. And the combination of state support and federal support and competitive grants and donor support allows us to be able to do what we need to do to support your interest. You can see here during COVID-19, a lot of great examples. Over 13,000 restaurant workers have been certified so that we're assured that folks that are producing foods in food service and retail are producing it and serving it safely, so that COVID is not an issue associated with food service operations. We have over 350 teams that are still engaged and involved both on campus and off campus in advanced research. We've done field days in a virtual way, and these virtual field days have been very productive and very successful. And also there's 36 plus county extension centers that are conducting programs as well. So while the land grant might have changed a little bit, we're certainly doing everything we can and adapting to the challenges associated with COVID-19. And just to look at things in just a little bit of a different way, we believe that NC State and the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences is leading the way when it comes to our people and our programs. We're now at about 300 faculty. I'd mentioned about 2,800 undergraduate students. With about 1,000 graduate students, we're now number 4 in the country when it comes to total amount of graduate students. And 7 or 8 years ago, we were about 20th in the country. We're number 3 now in the nation when it comes to competitive sponsored research. We're number 1. We've always been number 1 in the country when it comes to donor support and fundraising support. And we're also number 1 in the nation when it comes to the 2-year, very important Ag Institute program that vitally serves the needs of many of our stakeholders in the state, especially those of you that are in Tier 1 and Tier 2 communities. We're also very friendly with industry and having over 100 industry-related research engagements and programs that help support and leverage the ideas and the funding that we have with our industry partners. You know, when we take a look at how the college works to be able to strategically move forward, we take a look at both what's going on nationally and globally, as well as what's going on in the state of North Carolina. And globally, we have all sorts of different challenges. We have challenges associated with productivity, both with our animals and with our plant products. We have a challenge associated with food safety. We have a challenge associated with waste and changing consumer needs and desires. We have a challenge associated with declining public funding, whether that be in competitive grants or from states or from the federal government. When we think about agriculture, we need to think globally. How are we going to solve the grand global challenges of the future? How are we going to feed the world? How are we going to double our production with all of these challenges that are in front of us? And it's not only important to look at what's happening globally, but perhaps as a land-grant university, it's important to think about what we're doing very specific to the state. And I'm now going to turn this over to my colleague, Rich Bonanno, to be able to help talk through what's important in the state of North Carolina and some of the programs that we're developing there.
Hello, everyone. It's certainly a pleasure to be here with you all today. As you can see, there are many, many challenges that we face in North Carolina. About a year ago, we did some listening sessions around the state to really look at what our agricultural agents and farmers had on their minds in terms of the things that they found most challenging. The size of the font on these slides indicates how often these issues were mentioned. You see weather, labor, prices, profitability clearly at the top of the list. We try to focus our research and extension efforts to address these challenges. And while you think we really can't do anything about the weather, at least yet, from a breeding standpoint, we could try to breed crops, and we do breed crops that have the ability to withstand a variability in both temperature and moisture so that they can produce the most profitable crops for growers. So we're constantly focused on these local challenges. We must do more with less. You've heard this a lot. We've learned about the changing number of people on the planet. We will have to double our food supply by 2050. A staggering statistic here is that between 2000 and 2050, we will produce more food than was produced in the previous 10,000 years before the year 2000. In order to do that, we must be more efficient, 70 to 100% more efficient than we are today, because we must produce this food for this growing population with less land, less water, a changing climate with weather extremes, new pests and diseases, and above all, through all of this, we must be sustainable and protective of the environment. Well, what makes North Carolina unique? Why is this such a great place to have agriculture and to have production and to have our university? The first is diverse soil types. North Carolina has more than 400 soil types stressed between the mountains to the ocean. And we have a very diverse climate. It's not that just we have the longest state east of the Mississippi River, but we have the greatest altitude range from over 6,600 feet down to sea level. Spread across the state, and in collaboration with the North Carolina Department of Agriculture, we operate 18 research stations and an additional 7 research field labs around the state to give us the ability to work in many different climates, many different environments, and on many different soil types. We also have one of the largest cooperative extension networks in the country that not only can identify what the needs are out in the industry, but to bring that research information back to the producers of this state. And finally, we have rich partnerships in North Carolina, probably the most rich of any state in the country. Our collaboration between the university, the legislature, all of the affiliated industries, including the commodity associations and state and federal government agencies, makes us to be very, very successful and capable in our ability to serve the needs of the people of North Carolina. Agriculture is a huge economic driver in North Carolina. In fact, it's the #1 economic sector in North Carolina. Agriculture at the farm gate and agribusiness associated with that farm gate generation generates $92.7 billion, or 16.4% of North Carolina's $564 billion annual gross state product. And agriculture and agribusiness account for 18% of the 4.4 million jobs in this state. It is truly a huge factor. To look at the diversity of crops, that really is the result of all of those different soil types and all of the different climates that we have in North Carolina, going from the mountains to the ocean. We are actually the most diverse state in the United States in terms of the crops we grow, behind California and Florida. These crops include, on the crop side, which is about 1/3 of our production, peanuts, wheat, corn, soybeans, cotton, lots of fruits and vegetables and nuts, and also many other crops, including the #2 Christmas tree producing state in the United States. But 68.5% of our agriculture is actually on the animal sector: livestock, dairy, and poultry. Broilers, hogs, and turkeys being at the top of that list. If we just look at how we rank on a crop-by-crop basis or a commodity-by-commodity basis across the United States, we are #1 producers of sweet potatoes and flue-cured tobacco in the United States. And #2 in poultry and eggs, turkeys, hogs, Christmas trees, poinsettias, and food-sized trout. It's truly a spectacular list, and it shows the diversity and the size of this industry in North Carolina and how important it is in terms of total U.S. agricultural production.
So thank you, Rich. I also wanted to mention one of the other very important and unique functions, things that we're very, very proud of in North Carolina, and that's Research Triangle Park. And I don't think that there's anywhere else in the world that has the opportunities that Rich just described, with the diversity of agriculture, with the different soil types, the strong research station network. We also have Research Triangle Park, which is this powerhouse of 3 Research One universities: NC State, UNC Chapel Hill, and Duke University. But we also have a very strong contingency of both startup companies that support agriculture and life science industries, as well as some of the largest companies that represent and drive the global agricultural system. And so collectively and together, we do everything that we can to be able to work with entrepreneurs, work with large industry, and work with our sister universities in order to be able to solve some of the challenges that are important to North Carolina, as well as some of those challenges that are important globally. So this is just a reminder to all of us that we are the land-grant university in North Carolina. We focus on research, teaching, and extension. And again, we do it first for our state, and then secondly for the nation, and third globally. And when we take a look at our college, because of the great diversity that we have in both plant products and animal products, we're one of the most diverse colleges, having over 12 different departments that work to be able to satisfy not just all of our commodity groups, but the industry in which we serve, as well as communities in all 100 counties. And we're involved in everything from food to farming to fiber to feed to families to health to energy to water and the environment. And that's one of the things that really attracted me to look at North Carolina, was just the diversity and the span of work in which we do in order to be able to support our state. About 7 or 8 years ago, when we created our strategic plan, this was a picture that we had created. This was kind of a 7-year process that we were going to work on to be able to try to build out what we called big ideas or big initiatives. And most of our big initiatives focused on how can we better work together? How can we partner better with our stakeholder groups to be able to work in interdisciplinary teams to solve the really difficult, the really complex challenges of society, of agriculture, and life sciences. And when we drew this picture 7 years ago, we said we have 2 important goals right in the center. That's the target. That's our students, and that's our stakeholders. For stakeholders, we want to improve the quality of life. We want to improve profitability and provide new opportunities. For our stakeholders, for students, we want to be able to provide the best learning environment possible, such that they're not only taught and learn about the discipline that they're getting a degree in, but that they come out as problem solvers, and they come out wanting to be and have the courage to be and the capacity to be really good leaders. And I think that's the trademark of our students. It's problem solvers that have an interest in leadership. And I'm very proud that NC State and the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences has had that trademark in our student for many years. On the right-hand side of this slide are the big, bold initiatives that we've been working on. From a programmatic standpoint, we have a food manufacturing initiative, which I'll update you on in just a minute. The plant sciences initiative, which we've been talking about for a long time. Lots of updates there. The food animal initiative, which is an initiative that's helping to support our number one and strongest industry from an economic standpoint. That initiative has just been kind of lifted off the ground over the last couple of years. And then looking towards the future, there's two other initiatives that I think are really going to have to start building out. And that's water use and water management. We know how critically important water is today and how important water is going to be in the future, whether it's too much water or too little water. We need to focus on how we can preserve and utilize that natural resource in the most positive way. And then I actually believe that the number one most important issue in moving forward in agriculture is to be able to connect agriculture and food systems with human health and benefits to human health. Human health is so much reliant upon what we consume and what we eat. And I think we can help reduce some of the highest cost that we have as a nation, which is human health. And so I think that connection between agriculture and food systems and human health also opens the door for great partnerships with UNC Chapel Hill and Duke. So we look forward to that initiative growing over the next several years. We also think about expanding human capacity. You all have known about the importance of student access and making sure that we have ways to be able to provide a land grant educational opportunity for everybody, whether you're in the tier 1, a tier 2, or a tier 3 community in North Carolina. We want to be able to be the land grant university for all. And our student access programs have done a really good job of recruiting and providing many different kinds of opportunities for students to be able to get into NC State and ultimately get a degree at NC State. And I would say that that's probably the number one most positive thing that I am, as a dean, am most proud of, that this college has been able to respond to, because it was such an important and big issue when I initially took on this job about 8 years ago. We also are believers in leadership, and we make the statement that we can't be a leading state when it comes to agricultural production if we don't foster leadership. And we work to foster leadership in 4-H programs and FFA programs for students that are not yet at NC State, for our undergraduate and our graduate students when they're at NC State, to our faculty, to our staff, and yes, also to our external stakeholders. And we have so many leadership programs that are helping all of us be better leaders so that we can help push agriculture forward together. So I wanted to just talk through the 3 big initiatives that I had mentioned. Of course, the Plant Sciences Initiative has been an initiative that we've been working on very hard over the last several years. I will tell you that there's been tremendous investments that have been made relative to people. We've hired some 110 faculty in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences in the last 4 years. I think 78 of them will have a direct impact on plant science education and plant science research and plant science cooperative extension programs. And so we're building a stronger foundation of plant scientists, not only in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, but also in other colleges at NC State. We also have developed a strategy around how we're going to best lead research and educational programs. And we have 4 different platforms: 3 research-based platforms, 1 in plant improvement, that's better genetics, that's better production practices; 1 in data-driven plant science, that's about using all of this data, all of this information to better inform us to make better decisions around all this information that we have that today is so complex, that we're trying to be able to utilize it to be able to make better informed decisions. And then resilient agriculture systems, which focuses on things like building a sustainable food supply and a sustainable environment. Embedded above or within is the education and outreach platform. If you go back and you look at our strategic plan, it's all about our external stakeholders and our students. And it's about educating our external stakeholders and our students. And so the education and outreach program will ensure that all the new information, all the innovation, all the new technologies developed by the research platforms, educational programs are delivered to our students and to our external stakeholders. We've got a beautiful building being built on the NC State campus that's shown right behind me on my virtual Zoom background. This building should be done sometime between December of next year and February of 2022. We're about 54% done. It's a spectacular building. It'll hold about 60 faculty from multiple departments and multiple colleges, another 200 or so staff and graduate students, and there'll also be place in that building to be able to foster relationships and partnerships with industry, that we'll be able to lease that space so that we can collaborate and work together on important projects where there's benefits to NC State as well as benefits to industry. So we're very excited about the people investment, the programmatic strategy and investment, and this grand new building that should be open in just about a year's time. Then there's also the food manufacturing initiative, where we've hired great leadership. Dr. Bill Amutis, I've been trying to hire Bill Amutis for 15 years, and finally, this was the thing that got Dr. Bill Amutis to be able to come out of industry after 25, 30 years and lead a new initiative around food manufacturing. And it's about building the economy, about creating new and innovative consumer-friendly food products that are shelf-stable or refrigerated or frozen. A brand new facility was built and constructed, and a ribbon cutting was done last year in our Kannapolis research facility. And it's without a doubt the best facility in the country for the creation of these new and novel food manufactured products. And I'm hoping that this helps to attract and recruit new industry into the state of North Carolina to be able to help boost our already #1 economic engine. The Food Animal Initiative is the third initiative that's taken a little bit of time to get off the ground. This is a partnership between the North Carolina Department of Agriculture, the College of Veterinary Medicine, the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and all of our stakeholders that represent what we call the food animal industry, which again is the biggest industry in the state. It's almost 70% of our agricultural economy. And so we're looking at what are those areas of education and research that are going to be important. And you can see on the slide, here are some examples of things that have come out of this initiative. Gut health will be very important for productivity of the animal. Animal welfare and disease is always a big issue in the animal industry. Antimicrobial resistance, food safety, data analytics, all are going to be very important research enterprises to be able to help build out, to be able to help foster a stronger and a more innovative food animal industry that will help our already very strong animal industry grow and be even more diversified than what it is today. We did an economic feasibility study, which was launched and published in February of this past year. And the goal was to be able to talk about this initiative and the economic feasibility study over the last several months, but this has been slowed down because of COVID. Look for this to be something that's presented to the food animal industry sometime towards the end of the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, and I wanted to kind of really focus on what keeps a dean from sleeping well at night. And the biggest issue and the biggest challenge that I believe that we have in the industry, and that's people, and that's talent. If you take a look at what is the demand for college graduates that get a degree in agriculture in the United States every year, there's about 58,000 new jobs. But the supply of college graduates in agriculture from all American universities combined, we fall short. In fact, we fall over 20,000 jobs short, which means that we are not equipping the industry with experienced students that have been taught agriculture and life science principles. They're getting students that come from a different field that may not be educated and may not have an interest. And so I think we've got to do a better job. All of us need to do a better job of making agriculture and life science occupations more interesting so that we can do a better job of recruiting students into this very, very important field of the future. So my challenge to my staff and to all of you is let's do what we can to be able to articulate and advocate about the importance of agriculture in this state, and also do everything we can to be able to try to get into high schools, try to be able to get to guidance counselors and parents and let them know just how important and critical this industry is, and that there's jobs out there that are available for students once they graduate. So I'm now going to turn it over to my colleague, Rich Bonanno, who will take us home.
Thank you, Dean. I wanted to talk a little bit about extension as we get near the end. And just to tell you, if I could sum it up in one phrase as to what extension does, it really is about increasing prosperity for the people in North Carolina. Using our land-grant institutions, NC State and also NC A&T State University in Greensboro, as a bridge to our people. And we do that in three major program areas: agriculture, food and nutrition, and also youth development. And we're very proud of these three areas and the people that we're able to help in North Carolina. We are spread all over the state. Collectively, we are in 100 counties plus the Eastern Band of Cherokee. We have an office in each of these counties, fully staffed to support all of our program areas, as I mentioned, agriculture, food and nutrition, and 4-H. Collectively, between the people in the counties that we have, as well as faculty and other staff on campus, there are over 1,000 of us that focus on extension in North Carolina. Just looking at our impact, we brought in a third party to evaluate the impact of extension in North Carolina. And through all of our programming and all of our program areas, we have a $2.1 billion impact on the economy of North Carolina. That is a 27-to-1 return on the federal, state, and county dollars that are invested by the taxpayers into extension for the people of North Carolina. As I mentioned, 1,058 professionals and 101 centers. Face-to-face contacts, over 1.5 million people per year, over 13,000 programs, and 2.6 million unique visitors annually to our extension sites, with over 8.1 million total page views. Certainly a great impact for all of our program areas throughout the state. A little bit about COVID-19 before the dean wraps up. COVID-19 has really disrupted the lives of many people in North Carolina, and that includes all of us that work for NC State, North Carolina A&T State as well. And despite the unprecedented disruptions to daily life, Extension has continued to provide research-based information to the public. We're doing it a little differently, but we haven't stopped doing it. Preparing and protecting all farm communities during the pandemic, we never stopped visiting farmers. We never stopped providing the information that was needed to get out to the people of North Carolina. We've adopted a lot of new tools. We have a lot of field days, a lot of times when we invite farmers, especially, to our research stations and to farm demonstrations all around the state. The picture behind me is just one of those sites in Beaufort County. Thankfully, we were able to capture all of the information that we would have presented in person at these field days, virtually, to everybody that was willing and wished to watch that information. The dean also mentioned the Count on Me NC campaign, educating thousands of restaurant businesses and restaurant workers on how to be safe with the COVID-19 pandemic. And finally, in our youth programming throughout the summer and fall, even though we were not able to have our summer 4-H camps face-to-face, we were able to continue to conduct youth livestock shows, and our 4-H Daily Spark on Facebook Live has been viewed by many, many people. In fact, we have actually been able to contact more people through these virtual platforms than we've been able to do in our normal face-to-face programming. And with that, Dean, back to you.
I wanted to just mention that NC State University is now in the process of doing their new strategic plan, which will take us out for the next 7 and 8 years. I had the privilege and honor to be able to serve on one of 9 committees that worked on trying to shape the future for NC State. And I had the committee that helped define what a land grant is and what a land grant should be. Rich Bonanno was a part of that team. And I think we put out some really good information that will help NC State embrace the importance of the land grant mission, and I think it's going to help our college as well. So from our perspective, our planning process for our new strategic plan will involve waiting for the university strategic plan to come out and then assessing where the university is, where the university is going, where agriculture and life science is going globally, where agriculture and life science is going in the state of North Carolina, what we've done well in the past and what we haven't done well in the past, and what, most importantly, we need to do as we move forward. And as we did many years ago, we reached out to our communities all over this wonderful state of North Carolina and engaged you in that conversation. And like we did several years ago with over 4,000 people that we reached out face to face, we'll plan on doing the same thing as we develop the next strategic plan to take our college to even the highest level. With that, I will go to the last slide.
I'm going to give you a virtual.
There you go. That's what I'm looking for. I wanted us both to give the Go Pack. It looks like we can't do it together, but we can do it back to back. I would say to all of you, happy Farm City Week and Go Pack. Be well.
Thank you.